which is 10 ideas for a contact center Christmas wish list. So we're going to be sharing with you 10 ideas of what that wish list could look like. I'm going to do some introductions, and the 10 ideas will be shared to you by Ian Morton from Blood. Welcome to you, Ian.
It's Jonty.
I'll be sharing some of my ideas as well, rather than just moderating. And Mike Murphy from Interactive Intelligence will be also sharing some ideas for Christmas. Word describes the mood in your call center or your contact center right now. So just in one word, so exciting, busy, whatever word you think would work. If you'd like to type that into the box. Craig says it's happy. Kurt, oh, unfortunately, demotivated. Tracy, contact center is busy right now. Andy is also demotivated, or not Andy, but his contact center is demotivated. Engaged, chaos, tired, busy, depressed, engaged, busy. Peter says homework. I'm not quite sure.
Maybe homework.
That one. Yeah, homeworkers probably are quite interesting. Yeah, busy, changing, busy. Steve's contact center buzzing.
Excellent.
So fabulous there. Quiet. Says Vicky. Tired, emotional, excited, frustrated. So some quite strong words here.
Sounds like a normal day in a contact centre today.
And we could probably jumble all them up in 2 hours' time. Pick one, and that may well be the trials and tribulations all in one day.
Great feedback.
So Kurt says you're right. It does sound like a normal day in the contact centre. So right, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look before we start proposing some changes. We're going to put up a poll, which is how easy is it to make changes in the contact center. And if I could find the poll here and pop that up on the screen. Here we go. And so if you'd like to select all that apply. So how easy is it to make changes? I click my fingers and it happens. When the team is bought in, change can happen. You can select more than one. It's easy to get buy-in, but limited change happens. Change happens, but very slowly, or it's extremely difficult. Mike, what's your guess on our top one here?
Well, based on the feedback that we just had from the one-word comment about the mood, maybe change happens very slowly. Perhaps that might be a leader. That's just the only reason I'm basing that choice.
Okay, well let's have a look at the have a look at the.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. Change happens, but very slowly. Quite interestingly, 27% say when the team is bought in, change happens. And I think that's quite a strong thing that getting buy-in for the things we want to do is actually probably the biggest important bit. Communicating is probably one of the key things. So what I want to now do is just put up a look, and since we're talking about change, if you could type into the chat room, what is the next change that you're going to make in your contact center? So what's the next change you're planning to make in your contact center? Give us an idea of what you're doing before we start planning here. Any ideas, Mike, of what you think is going to come up in changes? Web chat, do you think that's going to come up on the list?
I kind of feel so social media obviously is a very sort of potent subject, but I'm not really sure how much impact is actually happening or impacting the contact center as far as change is concerned. So I'd be curious if that's mentioned actually.
Right, well, we've got a number here. Increasing the number of advisors to handle the increased call volumes. Christmas on-hold music, that's a good one to do next week. CRM installation, change to the assessment centers. Dean's going to be bringing web chat. Glynis is going to be bringing a cloud-based telephony system. Helen's going to be changing the strategy. Chris is changing opening hours. Ruben's implementing chat, which we talked about. We've got amending processes. Rachel's implementing a call back button on the website. Chris is looking to uplift outbound activity. Tracy's looking to implement new quality and performance processes. CRM reporting upgrades, that seems to be a common thread there on CRM. Roll out scripted.net for the whole business. I'm not sure I've come across that product before. Cloud-based everything, says Kurt. So we've got quite a range. And Stephanie says we're getting a new system to assist with calls and encouraging more individuals to use Facebook and Twitter to reach us. So social, that's the social one on the list, which a little bit of surprise. So let's go into some of our suggestions for things you could be doing in your contact center on your Christmas wish list. So I'm delighted to hand across to Ian Morton from Bud. And Ian, do you want to share with us your first idea for Christmas wish list?
Thanks, Jonty. Yeah, I'd like to share. This is one I'd love. Is for our contact center directors to see the world through the eyes of the technical startups and work 10 times as hard in avoiding unnecessary contact as in handling it. When they do handle it, when you do have to handle contact, make sure it's easy for the customer and it's fast and it's focused. In traditional businesses tend to develop organically and slowly for a whole raft of reasons, and you know, in the past it's been a fairly steady process of change, but things have really speeded up and expectations of customers have fundamentally increased. And startups have had to look at this differently, and there's some of the things we could potentially learn from them. They've also sort of had to think about the toolkits that they've got, and a couple of those toolkits. One is around crowd servicing. As an example here is how, you know, one organisation in the States, it taps into the immediate power of the customers. So people go online, they put something up online and saying about how they handled the problem. Here it was where someone was trying to watch their television, and their aerial got iced up, and came up with a simple answer of, well, buy a big water pistol and basically spray it with antifreeze, and it works. So he was able to watch his Christmas television.
Great idea.
That went online. The guys picked it up and they put a blog out to their customers, and hey presto, a load of happy customers. So it's about listening to your customer and giving your customer the chance to actually drop the hint of how to do things better. And then really getting that into the forums and creating the self-help forums and rewarding customers and recognizing those customers who help others. People like GiftGaff are coming to the market where they actually give rewards out. That is customer help customer. So move the core of the customer service back into the hands of the customers themselves. And supporting that, of course, you've got to have slick websites, easy to use and relevant FAQs, forums for customer help service, and the fallback to things like web chat if the answer cannot be found. And underlying it all is the constant of customer education. The other thing is crowdsourcing. It's not just the techies who are doing this. Smart companies like Procter & Gamble have been doing this for quite some time. And they've discovered that the quickest path to create a really good knowledge base is to bring in the crowd around the social customers and the conversations, and they bring them into the fold. And what they're doing, they're creating and promoting online support communities, and they're solving problems faster, and as the customers need those problems to be solved. And they're helping to develop new products as well. And what they're enjoying out of that is that basically their product launches, the success of their product launches far exceed the industry standard. You know, and 35%, it says here, 35% of those ideas actually come from the customers, and that's fantastic. And so they're almost guaranteed to be successful because they're listening. But it's not just about thinking of the toolkits and sharing the customer's ideas. It's also about how you then deliver and react to those customer issues. There's another stateside one here, and obviously I was looking for Christmassy themes, so a lot about snow. This is where someone tweeted into Cory Booker, who's the mayor of Newark, about their father getting snowed in. And rather than saying, yes, we'll get our guys to come out and sort it out, and, you know, we'll schedule it in, he actually went down, grabbed hold of the guys, walked out, and dug the old man's driveway out. And just a different way of approaching it. Now, we can't all do that. It's not as easy to leave the office sometimes and react, but thinking differently, creating the space to think differently, and reacting to the customers and making them aware that you're concerned. This has got so much credibility for this chat, and of course it all went out, all went viral, and people hear about this. So wonderful experience.
Very powerful.
Very powerful stuff.
Okay, thank you for that, Ian. Well, I'm going to do the first of my wish lists, and that really is more of a, if you like, a New Year's resolution, which is to refresh the queuing system in the contact center. And a good start for that would be to have a look at the queuing system and have a look at your call abandon curves. Now, if you have not done this, it's quite easy to do a call abandon curve. What you need to do is look at your call detail records, put it into a spreadsheet, and do a plot starting with 100% at no minutes, and you just plot the number percentage you've got left in queue. So this is one for a sales line. You see quite a steep drop-off here between, say, at about 25 seconds you've got 80% of people still in queue, but by 45 seconds you've only got 40%. So there's something happening in this example that's causing that. I'll come to some of the reasons for that. And also you can see it's somewhat slower on a technical support line, but again, quite a big drop-off happening around this position here. And in this case, that was actually coincides with the end of the first message they were playing to people. People sort of knew they were in for a bit of a wait. There are some other things we can do, but before I do go into that, just want to do a quick poll, and that is, what music do you have today on your ACD system for callers to listen to while they're queuing or on hold? The answers are classical, Christmas music, pop music latest hits, pop music oldies, don't know, or we don't have music on hold. Ian, what do you think is going to come up here?
Well, this is giving my age away here slightly. I'd like the oldies to be on there, but somehow I think it might be the latest hits.
And Mike, Christmas music, do you think how many do you think you're going to have in that?
It's not December yet, Jonty. I think you have to wait till December for that.
Okay. Well, we already heard the change someone was going to make was to put some Christmas music up, and actually no one is playing Christmas music yet. So I don't know if that's just we're a little premature, a week or so early. Classical looks like Vivaldi lives on.
Yep.
And 11% latest hits and 10% oldies. Surprisingly, 42% of you don't actually know what music you're playing right now. So in part of your New Year's resolution, find out and actually plot your music against your call abandon curves. So I'm just going to hide that there. So here's some practical steps that you can do. Review your queue messages. Something quite almost counterintuitive, I'll get into that in a minute, is increase your ring time. That's the amount of time it rings, the phone rings for the caller, before you play your first message. You can increase that to about 15 to 20 seconds, gives you some valuable queue time, and stop looping your messages every 20 seconds. If people got a long queue, nothing quite as bad as that, and check on your music. So here's an example. This is quite typically what I see in a lot of contact centers. You cut straight in with your first message. Thanks for calling, you're in a queue system. So don't play any messages. Your call is important to us, or we're experiencing unusually high call volumes. If it was unusual, would you be having a message saying it's unusual?
There we are.
Unless you're Tom Jones, in which case it's not unusual. So then often you see 30 seconds of music with another message, and it just loops every 30 seconds. Now, some systems like the old Nortel, there were, that was the structure. So here's an idea. Start playing 15 seconds of ring time to people. It gives you a valuable minute, and then play your first message. Then increase your time gradually. So do 60 seconds of music before your second message, 120 seconds before your third message. Actually, this should pop in there, the arrow's in the wrong place. And then if you've got to loop a message, do it in increasing times. So you just test it. Plot your call abandon curves, make a change, and then plot them again to see, a bit like A/B testing, to see if it's made any difference. So that's the first of my suggestions. We're going to have a look at technology next, but before we do that, what we'd like to do is just pull up a poll. How good is your existing contact center technology? So here's a number of scenarios you can put in. Is it all singing, all dancing, all integrated effectively? Is it good but could be better? Is it lots of different systems? is it creaking at the seams, and is it they promised me a lot, but all I got was a tile set, which is what they promised me a Rolls Royce, and all I got was a Mini. So if you'd just like to select all of those that apply to you, and let's have a look. I'm probably guessing we're going to see a lot in the middle ground, and let's have a look at the results and share those up on the screen. So what we're seeing is 6% all singing, all dancing, all integrated. 37% good but could do better. I'm surprised that's not actually higher, personally. 43 lots of different systems, which seems to be the plague of contact centres these days. 17% creaking at the seams, and luckily, actually by and large, technology does seem to be, you know, people are not being promised stuff that's not delivered, so which is a very good thing to say. So, Mike, I think you're going to have some suggestions now about how people can improve some of the technology in the contact centre.
I do, Jonty. Thank you. And yeah, my sort of suggestion really for a Christmas wish list this year would certainly be a all-in-one type of contact centre technology. And that kind of resonates nicely with some of the feedback we had from the previous poll. So thank you for that feedback. And the message here really is, if you look at the terms used around this sort of cloud that's kind of positioned here, you know, these are the tools that we all use every day in our contact centres, and some of us have all of this capability perhaps in our centres, and some have kind of got several of these kind of working together. But regardless of how they're delivered to you, you know, we kind of need these things to do our job. Now, the challenge really, and kind of as was mentioned and sort of came across in the poll, is that often these systems aren't, well, they're all kind of disparate systems from disparate vendors, and it's kind of hard to get them to work well together. So we've kind of been working on that, and we've kind of come up with these selection of tools that I kind of want to show you by what we mean by all-in-one. It's very, very different, because the strategy really is to make life easy. So for a supervisor, for example, we have this thing called a Interaction Center Business Manager, and you know, we kind of designed it and built it to be the place, the one place I can go as a supervisor to get all the things I need, like real-time views of my queues or real-time views of my people. Maybe I need to pull some historical information on either of those. I can do that from this Business Manager tool. But also it's the same for my recording. So I don't go to a different platform and log in and you know, register myself on a different technology to listen to the recordings, because they're also immediately available within the same tool. And whether it's a call or audio or screen, the information is there. And you can kind of see where this is going as they sort of like the workspaces on the left start to build. You can see like we have customer satisfaction survey tools. So you know, what is my feedback coming through at the moment? Am I rating well? Am I rating not so well? Is there a reason for that? Maybe some workforce management information. So you know, are my people doing what they should be doing? Is Jonty still in the coffee area again? Like 5 minutes after he's due back. We'll be tracking him down this afternoon, everybody. So just stand by for more. But then things like quality management, and you know, we can kind of see how it builds into a variety of those tools that we showed you earlier, which instead of being a separate technology with a separate logon, can now, if you like, be delivered into a single all-in-one application, which is really nice for the supervisor. And then as well, if you look at the agent, so you know, we've all had like multi-channel as a concept. We know what it's like. We know how that customers expect to have choice, and therefore our agents should be able to be equipped to carry multiple interactions. So from our perspective, you know, building it this way means we have a client here for the agent, and within that client we can deliver different types of contacts to that agent in a nice, consistent and same way. So you can see here there's like a call on the go, there's an email on the go, there's a web chat from marketing happening, and then we've also had a callback from Jim, and that callback may have come in from either an audio conversation or it could have come in from the website. But the fact is, for the agent, it's kind of nice and consistent how these different interactions arrive. It's not a different system that I got to log into. Maybe if I'm doing outbound today, I've got to log onto a different system, or if I'm doing chat today, I've got to log onto a different system. It's one application with all of this capability built in. So that's what we mean by all-in-one. And kind of, if you look for these type of tools, it'll be a good test that, you can kind of get past the veneer of marketing, which these days kind of say, well, everything is unified, therefore it's very simple, but actually often it's not. So like I say, the strategy behind this sort of gift for Christmas would be make your life easy. Your agent, your supervisor, your administrator, even your IT colleagues, for example. Because for once, all the things that are happening by way of interactions are kind of measured and managed in one database. And that same database with this type of technology would also have all the tools I need for my people management. So very, very simple, very, very clean, very, very efficient. And you can see then to bring in new tools, it's kind of very easy. You switch on some licenses. You can start to predict your costs if you want to grow or change. It becomes much more controlled. And then obviously over time, because you've got less individual systems in your technology stack, the actual cost of ownership goes right down, which is obviously very important in the current climate. So that to me, Jonty, would be the all-in-one strategy as far as a Christmas wish list from my perspective.
Indeed, and Kurt says that's what I'm looking at, an all-in-one tool. And Keith says give people the tools they need to do the job.
Excellent.
Chris has got lots of different systems and is finding, particularly reporting, joining all the reports together, a real headache.
Classic challenge.
Ian, so what's the next on your list?
Right, well, next on my list is what do I want for Christmas next, Prezi? It's the FAQ crystal ball. I want to know all those answers in advance. That know-it-all crystal ball, that predict what the customers will want to know and publish those answers up on whatever medium we use. So probably as ready-built crystal balls are probably not available just now due to the Christmas rush. And then thinking about how I'm going to build my own. Well, it's not easy. I was looking up on the websites for some sites that attracted me and maybe actually want to interact and easy to use. And there aren't that many, to be honest. What I think is the key thing is you've got to make it interesting, you've got to make it easy for customers to join into the conversation, and you've got to be as topical as you can. The other key thing about it is you've constantly got to keep polishing that crystal ball, and you polish it by listening to your customers again. If you don't listen to your customers, you're going to get out of date very, very quickly. So listen to them, thank them for the feedback, tell them what you're going to be doing with that feedback, and then tweet and blog the updates out. So it's not just to the internal people, the customers can actually see what you're doing and why you're doing it, and that then promotes greater utilization of your site, and you get better feedback on that process. Now, like with every model kit, you get a list of contents. Nearly everything's here, just not necessarily in the right order. And as with all model kits, probably one or two bits are missing, but that's part of the fun of building models at Christmas, I think. Just to pick out a couple of those, what I think are the key elements, I'd say key for me is around jargon, define jargon, put the simplest information first, lead people in, basic overview of the issue, answer only the questions asked, so keep it simple again, and then get that blog out there, request information back from customers, but also update them on what's going on. Give them the ability through something like Google Forms to drop that information through to you, make it easy, and use all the appropriate channels. And I think if you do that and you keep on developing based on what you're getting feedback from the customers, you start to get a good FAQ process going. The key is here, though, is whatever you have on one channel, please make sure you've got a consistency across every other channel, so that what's being said in your contact center is actually seen on the FAQs in the website. And that might sound rather simplistic, but I've seen it happen so many times where they're contradictory or they're slightly out of line, which causes further calls coming through. Also, obviously, if you've got contact centers, you're hearing what the customer's telling you in those contact centers. It's a great voice. Make sure that's feeding through to your crystal ball.
Yeah, and thanks for that, Ian. I think it's quite interesting. I mean, if you take a contact center, say, taking 3,000 calls a day, I wonder how many of those calls actually make it into a frequently asked question. I think, I'd be surprised if it was more than a handful, or even a handful.
I'd say, is there a process within the contact center for updating the FAQs based on end-of-day learning?
Yeah.
That would be the first question I'd ask, and not many have that.
No, indeed. So there's a wish list for your wish idea for your contact center. One I would have is new missions. So certainly the one thing I would do is pull away average handling time, certainly as an agent metric, very useful for call forecasting. But it's a very crude efficiency measure, and it tells you nothing about the outcome of the call. Now, I get asked the question is, what is the best single metric to use in the contact center? Is it customer satisfaction? Is it net promoter? Is it first contact resolution, customer effort, or even the most recent one we published an article on 2 weeks ago, which is net easy, which is a refinement, a sort of combination of net promoter and customer effort, or is it old-fashioned measurements like sales made? Well, we published an article a while ago that got quite a lot of attention at the time, but it's still quite unknown, by Alex Loach, who talks about what we need to do to get a single contact center metric. And he's come up with quite an interesting suggestion, which is look at all the metrics you think are important and put them together into what he calls an authentic call linkage, or an ACL score, but you can call it whatever you like. And basically, if customer feedback is important to you, give it a score, give it a weighting, and multiply the two together. If lateness and sickness is something you need to take into account that is less important, give it a lower weighting, so multiply it. Just take all your scores together and add them together, and that will give you a single metric you can track how you're doing. So here's one. If you really do want a single metric of your contact center, why don't you do something like this? So take all your favorite measurements you think seem to make sense. Net promoter, give it there, put in a weighting. Net easy, you can put that in and you might find you're not as easy to deal with as you think. First contact resolution. Often think it's quite good to have some customer metrics, some employee metrics. So I've given a very high weighting here to the employee satisfaction, quite a large part of it. And if you really, really want to have average handling time, put that in there, give it a very, very low weighting. And there you are, you have a single metric for your contact center. So that's a suggestion. Right. So we've had 5 ones so far. Just like to do a quick check of you. If you could perhaps select what you think are the 3 most suitable ones for you. The next best service is self-service. Refresh your queuing system. Some shiny all-in-one new technology. The know-it-all FAQ crystal ball, and new measurements. So just like to put those into your system. Be fascinating to see which one's going to come up top of here. I'll just give you just a minute to vote on those and see which one's coming up. I wonder how my queuing system's going to do.
I'm curious about your new measurements.
So let's have a look at the results.
Very good.
So, oh, Mike, you'll be pleased. Shiny new technology, absolute top of the
new shiny kit.
Yeah.
The 100 mic.
Self-service comes up very well. New measurements. I think refreshing the queuing system, perhaps that's a bit too mundane, but a bit low on the list. Low on the list there. At least you can put your Christmas music on. So
that's Christmas present your auntie buys you, isn't it?
Indeed. So let's have a look at what's next on the list. But before we do that, just a reminder: if you haven't put any tips in, if you'd like to put them into the chat room, callcenterhelper.com/chat, where you can also get a copy of the slides as well. If you use hashtag tip, so that we know that it's a tip in there. So Mike, I think you've got a Christmas present that you can hand around the contact center and make everyone happy. So Mike, if you'd just like to put your suggestion up on the screen.
Okay, here we go. So yeah, Jonty asked me to hand out tablets for everybody on the call. So apologies.
These aren't headache tablets.
These aren't correct. Yeah.
Computer tablets.
Yeah, look closely behind the ribbon. But unfortunately, our marketing budget doesn't go that far. But so the wish list I had really was tablets for your supervisors, and I kind of mentioned this on the last webinar because it was quite important. But I think for this particular webinar, it's also very important. And really, what we're talking about here really is mobility for supervisors, who are often sort of tied to their applications, which are on their desks, and that kind of made sense, if you like, to date. But then again, when you're trying to coach people and kind of understand their problems, it's often good to get side by side with the actual agent teams and show them that you're interested in their problems and that you're actually there to sort of help them with their problems. So there's this tool on an iPad, so you can download the like a demonstration of this from iTunes today, and it's kind of free for you to do that. but it gives you a sense of how we can bring the real-time information that we would expect in the contact center onto an iPad, maybe even things like agent location. So if you have like a typical floor plan, you can import that into this application and then start to populate it or allow it to populate where people log on today, if you have a larger center where people kind of shift their locations on a daily basis. Also, what's quite nice is that even though I am, if you will, on a tablet, I still have my sort of monitoring and supervisor tools, which are really important in case an agent needs to request assistance. So, you know, your obligation, if you will, or your role is still, you know, to be delivered, and although you might be away from your desk, you can still actually be reached by the sort of agent that needs some help. And in the same way, you can do some things like monitoring, listening, coaching, that type of thing, not necessarily from your desk. So I think that's a really nice thing to have and a really powerful thing to have for the Christmas wish list. So, Ian, over to you this time.
Thanks, Mike. Any of those tablets, Dan, if I leave my sock at the end of your desk, can you put one in there?
I promise. Just for supervisors. Can you not hand this to the resource planners or to the contact center managers as well?
Yeah, it's got to be designed for supervisors.
I think that's what I'm going to be talking about later on. I think I should give it to directors as well. It'd be quite good. Right. Another Christmas present that I'd love, and this one is to get one view of what customers need derived from all voice of customer sources. So whatever the channel, whatever the feedback and the metrics, just a common view, and then to use that to prioritize the actions across the business. We tend to work in silos as most businesses. What we're trying to do here is to say, let's work across the business. So we work in partnership. You know, there is no shortage of feedback, in fact, in life. The little cartoon in the corner here is one that I love because it just sums up. In my time in call centres, I had so much data and I didn't use it properly, and I couldn't really find what was the bit that I really wanted to use to convince people. I thought I got it right, but it didn't convince the rest of the business. So there's a huge amount of learning about using this information. No shortage of feedback, but how do we use that properly? How can we get it aligned? How can we aggregate it? And how can we prioritize it without drowning in all that data that's coming through and having too much? You know, typical scenario could be, you know, we have 100 voices coming through, and 100 people could pick up on those voices in the business, and they'll all go off at different tangents and do different things according to what their priorities are and what their objectives are. You know, the marketing guys will do one thing, the sales guy do another, and the poor old call centre sitting in the middle trying to sort it all out for them with the customer. So what I'd like to do is another model, and as you can tell, I'm probably missing my Meccano kit from my childhood. So for Christmas, I want a nice model to build. Something that we call a decision flow that collects data from across the organisation, so all of those channels of data, speech, unstructured, customer research, QA compliance, complaints, etc., and use this to drive that coordinated prioritisation and integrated set of improvements. And it's a continuous cycle, and you have to carry on collecting that data. So when you capture it, you categorise it, you collect it, you aggregate it, and then as a business, and looking across the business, you say, what do we work on first? You know, no pet projects here. What is best for the business and the direction we're going? You then act upon that, and you track it. And that tracking is listening to the customer. How is the customer reacting? And if it's all been fixed, fine, move on to the next one. But if you're still getting that feedback saying the customer's unhappy or they're finding it frustrating or whatever it could be, then you don't move on until you've fixed it. Go away from project mentality, go into the continuous cycle of improvement mentality. It's hard to do. And to get that one view of customers, you just have to get this agreement across the business. Like with a lot of models, it's definitely going to take you through the Christmas. Oops, gone too far now. Go back one. There we go. It's there we go. Like with a lot of things, it's going to take me time. And it's probably going to take me right away through Christmas holiday and beyond to build a model like that. So what can I learn from my friends, from the people who have built their own models? And there are 12 really key tips that we've learned from people we've worked with in the past. And they're quite straightforward, but they really need to be considered. The first one is facts-based evidence. If you tell the people in the business you've got a big problem, they'll say, yep, well, go and fix it. If you tell people in the business, I've got a big problem, you know, it's costing the business X, or it's losing the staff by Y, or it's losing its customers by Z, or you know it's really screwing up your sales, then you're certainly going to get some champions in there reacting quickly to say, actually, this is impacting me. I have to own that. I have to do something to help you fix that. The next thing is make it part of business as usual. Get a regular, weekly, I'd say, cross-functional meetings going that involves the interdepartmental teams looking at customer issues and assessing what are the priorities based on the data you're getting. And agree jointly what are the right things to do. Then rigorously embed the processes and have a clear structured approach to embed operational into the performance management and operational mode. If there's no rigor, the danger is that people will start to take shortcuts and turn things into projects rather than a systematic, continuous process. Create a value irritant model for all contact reasons. This model enables the business to associate costs in relation to customer effort and value. It provides you with a basis to understand and agree what you need to do and what you don't need to do. You'll have 1,000 things come up, 5 of those you really, really need to do. The other 995, if I've got my maths right, can be parked for now. They might come up next, but they can be parked for now. Then use the customer's words. And this is really key about language. If you use the customer's words, how they express things, particularly how you categorize demands, take it away from process language, use the customer language. It enables your organization to look at the process as the customers see it, to take the customer's side, and then ensure constant communications across the business. Don't assume that change behavior just happens because you present a clear message. It doesn't. It has to be worked on continuously. Get yourself dedicated resources. All of our people we've worked with in the past have found it's vital to allocate dedicated resources to this. They can be championing it through the business, through their areas. Work really hard to engage the business. Get those business owners on your side so they can see the priorities and what those things are doing to the business and their element of the business. And that's helped by get your business owners by providing the right hooks. And the hooks are, you know, the cost, what's the sales implications, what's the retention implications, etc., etc. And then they can be using that to help judge and prioritize. A key thing for the guys on the front line is make sure you said we did. You know, as a prioritization area, you told us this is a real problem with customers. Well, we've done this with it. And it might be you're going back and said, you told us there was this problem, but actually we're going to fix that in 6 months with a new systems integration that we're working on. You know, Mike's coming in and going to give us his really great bit of kit, and that's going to fix those problems. So we don't need to worry about it now. But you also told us about this one. That then gets the guys front line to buy into what's going on. It changes the culture, gets motivation, and you'll be amazed about how positive people are when they see some of their comments coming back actually changes in the business. Integration of departments, very necessary to think across the business. And that last thing, it's all about changing the culture. Get people to think customer, get people to think we work as a business, not as a function within the company.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Ian. We're now going to jump to another poll, and that is, do you think that video will take off in the contact center? So if you'd just like to vote on that, quite a simple one. The answers are yes, video will take off in the contact center, possibly, no, or don't know. So if you'd just like to vote on the what you think the role of video is like to be in the contact center in the future, would be quite interesting to look at. So let's just close the results on that and share it up on the screen. And the results are 19% yes, 34% possibly, 34% no. So that's much, much higher than I would have expected, because as you may have gathered, my next tip is to start experimenting with using video. Now, is that quite interesting there? This goes very much about the advice we were giving out 4 years ago. Wheel back to 2009, and we had this very popular article here called The 5 Most Flopped Customer Service Technologies, and you'll see up on the top of this list was video calling. So what's changed in 4 years? Well, I think tablets have certainly changed that, and you're quite interested to see Amazon's Mayday. I don't know if anyone's seen the TV adverts.
Yeah.
Mayday is the international distress call on airplanes, and you hit that, and you can be connected through to Amy or someone else nice in the contact center. So I think that's only available, though, on the all-new Kindle Fire HDX. So you've got to throw out your old Kindle Fire to get it.
I've turned it.
So. But quite an interesting number of websites starting to adopt it. This is quite an interesting one. If you go to Schuh, S-C-H-U-H, schuh.co.uk, and if you go on there, you'll find the right-hand side little button called Live Help. You hit on that, I think maybe on the FAQ page, and it says, what would you like to do? Would you like to do a video chat or a text chat? Then hit the Help Me Now button, and then you actually get placed into a queue, which is interesting. Said I was number 2 in the queue, and you get a little video while you're waiting, explaining a little bit about the system, and then you get through, and they switch you across to a different operator, and then you're connected through to Colin. And what's quite interesting on here is that we can see Colin, but Colin can't see you. So you can turn your microphone off on your PC, and so that's quite a good one. Yeah. If you're looking for an excuse to do it, ask if they've got any size 13 shoes, which is quite a good male size 13, or just some other. It's well worth trying it out. So that's actually live video calling. Yeah. The downside of it is you can't do 3 web chats. You can't do 3 video chats at the same time. So it's one-to-one, but a bit like a call center. So whether it's only quite a bit of a gimmick at this stage, but quite interesting. But the one thing you can do that ties it very much into the frequently asked question crystal ball is you can start putting video onto YouTube of your frequently asked questions, and then through that YouTube you can integrate that onto your site. British Gas have done it. Quite an interesting one. What to do if your central heating and hot water isn't working, and some of that can be as simple as just bleeding your radiator or turning up the little pressure switch to refill the boiler. You can do that yourself. Doesn't need a service engineer to visit. Takes calls away from the contact center. You can also understand your energy bill. I do have to say, if you've got to put a video on how to understand your energy bill, might be worth just looking about whether you should simplify the energy bill. That's my suggestion, using some new technology on self-help video. So, and Mike, I think you're going to talk us through another example of how we could potentially use technology in the contact center for someone's wish list. So,
indeed, Jonty, I do. Yeah, this is kind of it's a sort of a technology that we're all familiar with, and it's become very sort of available to us in the recent years. But our kind of view of it really is the real-time element about it. That's what we're interested in, really, as far as what I think is quite nice, or if you like, valuable for this year's wish list. You know, we're familiar with speech analytics. It's a useful tool to help us, but if we kind of take the role of the supervisor again, which I seem to be dwelling on, I've just realised. But here we have a supervisor. He's got to do some quality today. That's the sort of obligation that he has to deliver. He's got his team of agents kind of busily talking to his thousands and thousands of customers, and there are literally hundreds of thousands of recordings or interactions taking place at any one time. So, as a quality manager, what calls should he listen to? And should he just, like, zone in on Joe, who's pretty new, because that could be making sure that he's okay, or maybe Sue is kind of visibly showing that she's on a call for longer than we would expect, so maybe I should listen to that. So what we're finding is that where to actually do my quality work could be a little bit random. So what we want to try and do is kind of bring some visibility, and the visibility that speech analytics can bring into the story, we'd like to share that with the supervisor. So now all of a sudden I know what to pay attention to, instead of like this sort of random listening or random selection. I can always listen, coach, or join into the call, depending on what it is that matters. Certainly if a call is at risk, I can sort of either call back that customer or actually get onto that call straight away. So from that perspective, it's yes, it's speech analytics, absolutely. It's kind of doing its work in background, but the sort of message here is about real time, like immediate action. So let me just sort of show you how this looks, just to sort of help explain it better perhaps. So we kind of saw the screen earlier, the business manager tool, and here I am as a supervisor, and I've got sort of visibility at the bottom here of the kind of calls that are happening in my sort of agent queue at the moment. So I can see that this conversation is taking place, and if you look to the right at the bottom, you can see the sort of the green arrows for the agent scores and the red arrows for the customer scores. So this is kind of the feedback that I'm getting right now from a dialogue that's taking place. And if I mouse over either the customer or the agent, I can see the actual words that have been spoken so far in the conversation. So as a supervisor, I now know, which type of call I need to quality monitor and which ones not necessarily. Or if it's a case where something's going wrong, which might be like very challenging, I can have little alerts on here. So if the score goes beyond, let's say, 70, then suddenly I'm alerted to that particular call. So again, as a supervisor, I might want to take some action based upon that information. So it's not just sort of speech analytics about things in my archive, which is sort of typically how it behaves at the moment. It's more about speech analytics now, at this moment. What is the customer actually saying to my agent, and what is my agent actually saying to my customer? And based upon that information, then, as a supervisor, I might want to take some action, maybe coach the agent through a difficulty, actually jump onto the call if necessary. So I think that's quite a nice twist, if you like, on a pretty regular technology these days, speech analytics. But the real-time difference, I think, is very valuable. And that's the end. That's the last of my sort of contributions to this, Jonty, today. Next one to Ian.
Thanks, Mike. I think the interesting thing about that last thing about understanding real-time speech analytics is also flying into a little bit about what I'm going to talk about now, and that is that my last Christmas present I'd really want is that every director to have reindeer ears tuned into their frontline staff. And those reindeer ears are to listen and pick up on all the good ideas that are out there in the call centre. And when they actually do something about those good ideas, their red nose lights up. I'd just love to do it. And I think if we could give two things you talked about, Mike, the little iPad and then the speech analytics, you give that to the directors to know what's going on. Exactly. Keep them really up to date on what is happening out there in the front line, what is happening to their customers. Anyway, this last Christmas present I'm hoping for is to make sure that all our directors, no matter what function they're in, take time out and they go and walk the floor, talk to the staff and listen to the customers. And I think sometimes we try and get the people in the rest of the industry to come and join us. And in my time when I was in call centres, it was a constant struggle to get other people, other managers and other directors to come in and just sit and listen to customers. We used to end up a little bit like this. It's one solution, but it's not very effective. And I think there's better ways of doing things. And part of it is if they don't turn up by themselves, why not invite them to the party? And my background was from finance, and I can remember coming into customer service and thinking, you do what? And finance is a very quiet and refined and secure area to work in, and you come into the hurly-burly of the call centre. It can be quite a frightening place. And if you get people coming in and you don't handle it right, they're scared off. And they say, God, we've got lots of problems, we've got to fix that problem. And they go off like a firework, and they say all the wrong things, and you don't get anything really out of it. So what you want to try and do is get them along to the party, get them part of the team, and get them to feel comfortable about that. So my last piece is all about just a few tips that I found work for me. And again, it's a bit of a selection here. First one, and it's all common sense stuff, is make sure you schedule time in people's diaries and send reminders out. Probably the week before and the day before, because you're sure as eggs is eggs, they're going to say, oh, something's come up and I've got to go and do something else. Okay. No, your most important people on this planet are your customers, closely followed by your call centre staff who handle your customers. So send those reminders out. And a way around that is schmooze the PAs, get them on your side, buy them a box of chocolates, because once you've got the PAs on your side, you become all powerful. Amazing how they boss their bosses about. And when your visitors arrive, brief them on the top issues. Focus on their particular area of expertise. So if you've got a sales director coming and sitting in, and you want to get a particular message across, make sure they understand how that sits within your particular call centre, what you're hearing, what the volume of calls is about, what the demand's like, what the customer feeling is like. It may already be in your MI pack, and you can focus on that. But to be honest, I would, most organisations, I say, once the MI pack goes out, people don't go through it with a fine-tooth comb. They look at certain things that hit them between the eyes. Right. And if you want to get a message across, you've got to make sure it hits that person between the eye. So drop hints as to what to look out for, what they should be looking for, what they can learn from this experience. Make them feel part of the team. Say we really value your contribution. We really like you being here. Walk the floor, introduce them to the team. Don't make it frightening for the team to suddenly say, "Crikey, we've got the MD coming down to listen to calls." It should be part and parcel of normal life. And if you're going to sit them with people, do select your agents carefully. And I say that, from a sensible position. If you put your visitors with agents who are maybe slightly nervous or who don't have the full knowledge of the product or service, or maybe not the right attitude you want to progress, what will happen is that person will walk back and be focused on the agent, not on the issues you're trying to get them to hear. So deal with all those problems with the agents separately, but make sure they sit with the right people, they get the right messages. Plan it with the guys you're going to put them with. And at the end of a session, do a debrief. Say, what have you learned? What have you heard? And make sure they're not going to focus on one particular thing that actually is their pet subject, but actually you want to get them back onto the things you want to walk away with. And then make sure you follow up and keep providing with a focused MI. And hopefully, just watch those red noses light up as they understand how they can help improve the customer experience.
I think that's a wonderful tip there in terms of getting people engaged from the outside, particularly since we need their support to get change through the contact center.
Yeah.
So, which of those last 5 resonated with you? If you'd like to vote on the top 3 of those, so tablets for your supervisors, consolidated view of the customer, use of video, real-time speech analytics, and getting your management team listening to the frontline staff. So I'd just like to vote on that, and we'll have a look at the results, see what came up. Let's just close that and share those up on the screen. Ian, that certainly resonates with the vast majority. Getting your senior managers listen to frontline staff. The use of video. It looks like I've not made possibly the biggest connection there, so I don't know if I'm out of touch with the audience or ahead of my time. So I'd like to think it was the
ahead of your time, Jonty. Ahead of your time.
I think it's tracking perfectly, Jonty. I think in 1 year's time it's going to be much higher.
So we'll have a look, or maybe in 4 years' time I'll be still doing the next one, top 5 flop technologies. So here's the 10 ideas for a contact center Christmas wish list. Copies of these are in the slides which are in the chat room, talkandalva.com/chat if you're not already logged in. What have we missed? What is on your wish list that we haven't covered? So if you'd like to put the answers that into the chat room, we'll have a look at the things that we've missed. And what are your top ideas or tips for improving the contact center? We've had quite a number sent in already, but it's still a chance to win that bottle of champagne. Use hashtag tip for a tip. So let's go off and have a look at those. Have a look at those tips up on the which we've had a range sent through, quite a long list of tips in there. So the first one: ask your customers what they want and need. Keep things simple, which I know is a mantra that you use, Ian, and deliver on your promises. Fairly straightforward, that one. Rachel, mind the gap and join up your channels, whether you have one channel or several, join them up and make them seamless.
Yeah, that's that commonality of message, I'd say. Yeah, make sure it's all the same. No matter how I touch your organisation, I should get the same experience.
Yeah. That's one of the challenges with things like video. It is another channel to add on, so quite an interesting one. Dougie says, use customers' words. Kill jargon, internal project names, etc. They quickly become embedded, but they're irrelevant to your...
Totally agree with Dougie there.
Customers.
Totally agree.
Mike, keep the IVR menu short and simple, very much in line with my tune-up the queuing system. Yeah. Long, badly designed ones upset the customer so much.
Yeah, it's really good. And like a simple thing like mystery shop yourself. Like get on the phone and dial your number and just see what it's like as a manager, listening to how your customers are put through these tools. You might surprise yourself.
Dougie also says self-help videos lose value if they're over corporate. Customers will then revert to forums. Record them to engage the customer, not be a PR tool. Nothing quite like getting one of your service engineers to record a video, or just someone from the contact center.
Yeah, or the customer.
customer.
Yep. You ask the customer to show how they overcame some of the challenges of the product.
Nick says, that imagine you are one of your customers, or even better, become one of your own customers and use the same systems that your customers have to use. It's quite interesting. On the Dell site, all their sales agents use exactly the same website system as the customers. So it's quickly picked up on any problems that customers were having because it's not working through. So a bit like FAQs. Instead of having a FAQ section, have a self-help video of the top 10 problems and solutions.
Combination of both.
Yep.
Good idea.
Yep.
What a nice one. So
choice for the customer.
That resonates. Mike, cloud-based technology allows for mobile consultants. Tablets for all on-site consultants and work-at-home consultants becomes a reality.
Indeed, yes.
So consultants here, meaning also agents as well.
Flexibility is the key, I think.
Yeah.
It brings flexibility, whether it's cloud or tablet. Yeah.
Although there was one thing we didn't cover off today, which we were going to include, but we didn't have time, and that was something along Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The new one that's gone on there: make my Wi-Fi work no matter where I am.
Communication, training, and an engaged workforce is key to success. All the technology in the world won't help you if you're failing in these areas. Each person is an ambassador for your business, and your business relies on them. I think we had a couple of questions sent in. Alex asked, does the system offer social media integration, Twitter, Facebook, the ability to bring tickets in?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah.
So it's quite an easy one. Yeah. And what sort of integration possibilities are there with service management tools?
Yeah, really, with those kind of tools, it's expected really today that you have these integrations. So if we recognize who the customer is, we should be populating that to the agent on the way through. Similarly, if I am an agent and I open up a case, I should be able to right-click on Jonty's phone number and just click to call. Those type of very, very simple things, but they're very effective and they're very time-saving, and it makes life for the agent and the customer much, much better.
So here's another tip: identify your first contact response rate. First contact resolution was one of the metrics we talked about earlier. How many customers are calling back within a short space of time? Find this and the reason why in order to drive your repeat calls to your customer service department.
Yeah.
And we certainly did a webinar earlier in the year on that, so the recording is still online. Go to callcenterhelper.com, I think, /webinar. Call your own call center.
Very good. Yeah.
Shopping.
My challenge for the day is on your way home. If you're in the car, dial it. If you're waiting for the train or the bus, dial it as well. So have a listen to that queuing system. See what the music is. Get your recruitment process right. Hire the right people. Get the induction right. Get the training right. Often the training is one that's often missed. It's all about the people. They're the most important asset.
One thing to add to that, I think it's totally right, is then once you've trained them, enable them to actually do the job you're training them for. Don't put constraints around them. You're getting highly intelligent people. You're training them up to be really good frontline agents for your business. And then a lot of companies actually say, well, you can't do that. You've got to get that signed off, or like Jonty was thinking about AHT earlier on. It's actually the time you're taking on the call that's more important than the actual quality of the call. To think about the environment.
And just come into the chat room, cross-train with other departments, because I think it's an extension of listening. It's amazing how you'll start working as a team when everyone understands what the other departments encounter, and those other employees sometimes offer solutions to problems that you have missed.
Yeah,
I
particularly good comment.
Yeah, particularly love that one. So let's have a look at just get the slides